You are listening to Fika with Vicky on United Public Radio, 107.7 and 105.3 from New Orleans.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fika with our guest today, Zohra Zoberi, and me, your host, Vicky Benison. Zohra is an author, poet, and playwright who's allowed her life experience, curiosity, and pragmatic nature to meld together, creating an adventurous life in her most recent work, The Other Eye, a memoir. The Other Eye takes us on a physical journey that crosses the globe, as well as a journey of personal growth that crosses years and cultures. Reading about her life observations kept me turning the pages. I needed to know what Zora thought about the world. What did she make of it? But in the end, I realized it wasn't what she made of the world, but what she made in it that was important. While many of us have accepted a dystopian future, Zora has been working towards an utopian one. A reminder to us all that it ain't over yet, kids. Thank you for that reminder, Zora, and for sharing so much of your life and yourself. Welcome to Fika.
Thank you, Vicky. What a nice introduction. And I'm so happy to have met you. And I think that you've done such so much justice to this book by reading not just cover to cover, but word to word. I'm just amazed at your observation and your reading power and your interpretation and everything. So I'm quite excited. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm amazed at your ability to pull us into your world so completely and uniquely in your own words that we get such a feeling for what you experienced. That is the gift, Zora. So thank you.
Basically, it's a story of migration from separation and alienation to integration and celebration. That's the crux of my story.
And you've been celebrating like mad lately, so
Every single day, there's something or the other. Either, I belong to four author groups, mainstream English, and four author groups in my native language, Urdu, Hindi, whatever, and it's mainly Urdu. So it's the lingua franca of the subcontinent. Everybody understands it, most people. So my life is like bilingual literary scene all the time. And then on top of it, my desire for entertainment takes me everywhere I can go.
and she goes, you have. Now, usually at this point, I ask for a bit of synopsis about the book, but you have a poem at the beginning of your book that says it all. And would you read that for us, please?
Actually, should I show you the book first?
Yes, show us.
Okay, so it's scary to look at.
It is a big book, but it has been a big life. I
It's
mean, this
stories, yeah, from four different continents and life
and
experiences from four different
over 50 years.
over 50 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I was a diarist from age 13, so I used to write diaries all the time. But here I will show you. This is my wedding picture as a teenage bride, and this is when during COVID when I actually compiled all the stories and made it into a book. So
Yes, it
uh,
begins when she was very, very, very young. I should I should say that.
I'll talk about that. I was mature enough. My dad supported me, although everybody else opposed it. But my dad said she knows what she's doing because of the kind of proposal. You
Yeah,
and
that made all the difference.
yeah,
And
let's
and
start with the poem first, and then we'll get into that.
yeah, different times. Go ahead.
So a poem, the two poems at the end of the one at the beginning and one at the end is like my artistic statement. They're like bookends of my story. And when you're writing a memoir, you're taking a journey again to all those places you have visited, meeting all those people that you had some significance in your life. So I titled it The Second Journey. This is my why of the book. The second journey. With a handful of precious values to the east, I bid farewell. To adopt, adapt, submerge, and emerge in the West inquisitive, passionate. From deep down arose my quest. Where did this journey begin? How did I come this far? Where will I be tomorrow? To befriend my inner self, I decided to take the adventurous journey again, to visit the special places I once did, rekindle my romance, and rest on sweet memories of those who reside in my soul. To spend time to cherish those who had positive impact upon my life. Along this journey, how could I ignore those who gave me heartaches, yet invoked my strength and wisdom? Hindsight, my best friend, is now holding my hand to rejoice over the hurdles overcome. This second journey may provide me with an insight. Where do I go next? Thank you.
This
So that's when I start the book. You get on the train, the editors got on board and they said it's like traveling together. And we had so much fun while editing the book, the two ladies and myself. Oh my God. Yeah. So there it is. Now my life is in your hands.
I
After
like
you,
don't give me that kind of responsibility. I like the analogy of this is a train ride because your trip began with a train ride. And once we got started with you, it just keeps going. Zora will say, I can't believe you read the whole book. But I couldn't stop because there you are. You're side by side with you moving throughout this book and seeing what you see. It really is
when
a
you
gift.
called and we spoke about it, and you told me how much I realized how much you know about my book, about my life, that is the biggest treat ever an author can get because you put your heart and soul into something, and then when some it resonates with someone, even if it's one individual that has absorbed it all, it's just gratifying. I would say, highly.
Well, it you deserve to be gratified. That is the way it is. Now, it's been asked before, and I'm going to ask it again because the other I, why do you call it? And we're saying I as in the letter I, as in me, myself, not the other I. Why do you call it the other I?
Okay. Well, the thing is, first of all, um, there are in our culture, names have a significance. And I was given a name, Zora, by my grandmother, Zohra, and that is planet Venus. The meaning of it, planet Venus or morning light. So it has a lovely meaning, and she passed it on from her own mother, that name. So I was honored by that. But my dad was bent on calling me Shada, so that became my nickname. And Shadan is spelled Shadan. At one point, I was going to call the book Shades of Shada, but people would read Shadan, and that's not the way. It's the French way. N is silent, so Shadan, and that means cheerful in Persian language. And so, two sides. What done in the book through the story, Zora forges forward when it's challenges, and she's competitive and she wants to, you know, succeed in the world. And Shada, like all of us, have a side to us that's for our inner peace and happiness. And so, at one point in my story, they are not in sync with each other. You have to have an integrated personality where you take look after yourself as well as the world. So at one point, and it takes a toll on you, psychological toll on you. So my story runs when she realizes it and then she wants to bring them together. So it's a quest for integrated I. It's a spiritual quest also. What is the full integrated I? And that includes we as well. So my last one of the last chapters is the integrated I. So that's what it is. And my son and my daughter-in-law, I sent you the clip. They made several interpretation of the name, and they were all applicable because there's multiple layers to this title. And at first, some people were saying, "What, the other eye? The other eye?" I said, "No, no, no. It's the two eyes once they get integrated, they help me develop the third eye.
Because we have many different parts.
Yes,
And also, we've discussed a lot that the reader's interpretation has a place. You can't just dismiss that.
yeah,
It's
true.
important as well. And I also want to mention, since you brought up your son and daughter-in-law, I would like to thank your lovely daughter-in-law for helping us out with our tech problems and just but I can't, she was very helpful, and she came today to make sure everything ran okay for Zora, and she's just my hero for the day. So
Mine is too. It's really to have together, Shireen. Anyway, so yeah, because all it was is that it had to work through firewall, a different, uh, they call it what, browser. We had
Mhm.
a different browser, and we
Which
couldn't
was
get it.
not on the top of the list
What
for
was that?
it was. I would never have done that because they say, but anyways, Shireen broke the rules.
Well, it's a
She
lesson to your audience in the future. If ever something happened, that is something they should consider too. You
Yeah,
know,
no, no, that this is true. Absolutely true. And since we haven't, I realize everybody's very caught up in the conversation that Zora is having. But if you're hearing this clearly and you're seeing us clearly, just throw a thumbs up on the comments just so that I know for sure. Okay, please. Somebody out there. All right. So you were born in Pakistan and you were surrounded by family and friends. And then suddenly you were getting married and moving to England. Um, but you didn't end up in England. You ended up in Nigeria. And so that was a big surprise to begin with, not necessarily a happy surprise. But how did your expectations and what you found there?
well, let
What,
me tell you first to begin with, I call myself a partition child. In 1947, the subcontinent was freed from the British rule, but it got split in two countries, India and Pakistan. So my parents were having lunch. I was born in New Delhi, Holy Family Hospital. No ordinary place. It was a Holy Family Hospital. Anyway, so but I was a baby, and they were having lunch, and they had to leave for at a 10-minute notice with a small baby, two thousands of miles away, didn't know where they were going. So that kind of trauma my mother experienced and my parents. They never sort of gave us their pain when we were growing up, which is a good thing that they did. But anyway, so cut the long story short, I was raised in Pakistan, yes, starting from baby time. And yeah, when I was a teenager, just high school graduate, then a prince knocked at our door. Actually, this gentleman, far, far distant relative, but I had never heard of his name or his family or anything. He was given my name and number, and he came to visit my family. And love at first sight for him with me. But I used to tell him I fell in love with your PhD first because he was PhD from London, England, and the proposal was you and me, no third life, and I'll take you around the world. With my nine cousin siblings and five my siblings, I was always having to change the diaper or wash somebody's face or feet. So I thought, oh my God, I'll get to travel. I said yes. So my mom, when people think that I married a much older person at a very young age, they automatically assume it must have been a forced arranged marriage. No, it was not. It was my first risk that I took in life. I'm glad I took it.
well, it's actually giving you more freedom than you had because you were the oldest and taking care of everybody that was
Yeah, my
younger. And
father supported me. If it without
yeah,
his,
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. But there was some circumstances that couldn't be avoided.
yeah,
And so it was sort of it was yeah, it was. It took you away to other worlds and other things. And
my in-laws sat in the front row 2 days after the wedding because they postponed the awards ceremony in a thousand crowd. And on stage, when I received my gold medal, Tamgai Sirat they call it, So I was all round best uh, student. So my husband, I mean, I was intimidated. He's a PhD. I'm grade 10, but then I kind of touched my medal to show him that, like, you may have your PhD, but I have this which you don't have. Anyway, it was just a childish thought.
But hey, you got to hold on to who you are, right? And I would say whatever you have, you have to. Thank you, Serena, Saren, and Robin for letting us know everything is going well. And Robin says that he really thought that your poem was nice. He really enjoyed you
Thank
reading
you,
your
Robin.
poem.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there you are. You're headed off, and you're going to Nigeria. You're
Yeah,
going
so you
on.
asked me earlier on, which I didn't answer. I was supposed to go to England because official marriage was done, but he had to leave the next day and then come back to receive me with a grand, wedding reception. But it didn't happen. He sent me a letter to say that I have this job in Nigeria. It's lucrative, every 9 months paid vacation and all that. So I said, yes, let's go. And would you believe, I mean, I traveled alone, and that was everybody. Like my grandmothers were fainting and all that stuff. There was quite a scenario. The entire Karachi was there to see me off at the airport, and I was excited because I was traveling alone, first time leaving my parents' home and going to another country, another continent. Oh my God! So anyway, I wrote my first memoir, sort of travel log, on the planes flying over the Sahara Desert. But I did end up unknown place otherwise, like Ile Ife, little town in Yoruba land, West Africa. And it was the cradle of humanity, it turned out to be. So, but then with my luck, with our luck, there was oil boom in Nigeria. It became fourth largest oil producing country. So they cleared 13,500 acres of land to create a brand new modern campus and enticed all these professors from around the world. So they were all white professors and all black students. And I was a scrawny little teenager that didn't even look my age, like one could pass me for a 14-year-old. But I was lost and I had to find my way. So the story is about how I found my niche. The vice chancellor of the university was one of the think tank.
Well,
uh,
no,
government.
exactly. And you were allowed to grow world-wise with the traveling, and then you were allowed to grow mind-wise because there you were in the center of learning.
And like, I don't know, not that I was hoping or intending, but I gained popularity for no reason, just for being the youngest bride on the campus. For 10 years, I was the youngest bride.
You were the baby.
Yeah,
It's
so the vice chancellor's, all the state guests used to be brought to his multi-million dollar villa. Now it must be multi-billion dollars. But anyway, and I always had the seat next to him because I read up on Nixon's, impeachment and everything. And people thought, who's this girl that knows about Nixon's impeachment and all the hearings? But I thought that keeps me on that seat.
you learned to so if you don't
It was
mind
enlightening for me.
yeah, no, just for a perspective of looking on, so what year would that have been?
That was 19. By then, it was like, because I had learned the language. I didn't speak English very much, hardly any, when I first landed there. So I entered International American School, and I did my A levels. Believe it or not, I was from Urdu medium, which is like rocket science to switch from Urdu medium and read Chaucer and Shakespeare and Lord Jim, books like Lord Jim. But I just did. My husband was a little upset. He said I don't disrupt our social life. I didn't intend. I mean, I am encouraging you to study and you'll go to the university and everything, but don't overdo it. But like, I barely passed. I was used to getting first grade, but I barely passed through my A levels, and that
Well,
upset me. But he was very happy.
doing it in a different language, like
Yeah,
You did need to give yourself a break, but this is one of the ways you adapted is that you learned whatever needed to be learned for that
every,
adaptation.
everything in life. I became a banker when I knew nothing about banking. So I always use this analogy that when a teenager marries somebody twice their age, I mean, that's again, I'm a rookie, but I made it work. And we gelled together really well.
No, you well, and it was the circumstances. It wasn't like you got married and ended up, doing more
Oh,
diapers, and the fact that you didn't have a child immediately was a
well,
big
he
thing.
had said, "You and me, no third life." So I'm
Yeah.
the one who broke the deal because one time I went to Pakistan, and all these elderly ladies, they expect if it's 1 year or 2 years, you must have. So they were looking at my belly, and I looked down and I said, "It's not me, but my mom is expecting a baby." They teased me and they said that, you know what, she's trying to teach you a lesson. But anyway, yeah, they when I told them the story that it's him and his doctor brother that conspired and that I shouldn't have a child. I haven't told you this before, but I was given a supply of contraceptives I didn't even know they existed and what they meant. They gave me a lesson in it.
But that gave you the freedom to learn. That
Yeah,
gave you the freedom to grow.
yeah, and I traveled with him east, west, north, south of Nigeria, West African countries, Togo, Dahomey, Lomé, you name it. He was doing research on tropical macrofungi. So he was originally a PhD in mycology from London, but he transitioned into microbiologist later on.
And this was your not as a writer, but this was your first introduction in being in a published book because you did
Yes,
illustrations
yes.
in that
Should I
book.
show you the book?
Yes, that's what I'm yeah,
I'm
hold it
so
up.
proud of it. This is the book Tropical Macrofungi Scientific Book, published by Macmillan and Hafner in New York, and it has all the sketches. I was his able assistant. I learned the stilling technique,
Well,
so that
because that's when you took art lessons, right?
well, I yeah, and I just did all these illustrations from live specimen, and I learned a lot of the names of fungi and everything. So I used to go with him to all the mycological forests all over Europe, Africa, everywhere. So I was his assistant. So it was art and science that merged together and made a nice combination, I think. He doted over me all those years. I used to tell him, "Don't take my picture. We live together. We are going through Rhine Valley, all the scenes, a tour from Germany, Austria, and all those countries." And he's just taking my pictures. I said, "Take the pictures outside. I will still be yours." But
I
no,
need to breathe.
and as we come to the end of the book, I mean, you see the whole journey of life and book.
Yeah, no, it works. For example, and I don't know how this is possible, Zora, so you have to tell us. You were in Nigeria and you ended up in the middle of a government coup and you didn't realize it. You just were living your life until they noticed you. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, internet, telephone system, and all that. I mean, now you whisper, and the thing is all over the world. But at that time, we hadn't got the news yet into the campus side. So I arrived as usual on the Wednesday morning in the evening was a cocktail party at the Vice Chancellor, and I wanted to update myself with all the latest news. I went and I thought nobody's on driving, no car on the way. And I parked and I thought, no car, what's going on? Is it a holiday? Is it really Wednesday kind of thing? And then I got out and playing with my keyring and humming along until I heard, "Halt!" And I looked up, and this 10-story building that was called the 10th anniversary cake of the university. So I just looked up, and every few yards were soldiers posted, and every gun was pointing towards me. I burst out laughing, and they said, in Nigeria, when they're surprised, they go, "They go, "Madam, aren't you scared? I said, no, I'm not scared. Why should I be? It's like a movie scene. But you know what? If it happened to me today, I bet I'll be very scared. But at that time, the innocence, and also the world was more innocent at that time, somewhat, even though there was a military coup and
Oh yeah,
22 people got killed, political leaders in cold-blooded murder.
and that's so. s-
And then sorry to interrupt
Oh
you,
no.
this has to be told because their chief, like there was one soldier who said, I will take you to, I told him I didn't know about it. So there was a curfew. Students can have an uprising anytime. Don't we know that? Anyway, so uh, he said one soldier came forward, but their chief, with all the accolades and all the things hanging in his military might he showed. So he said to me, I will escort Madame. He said, I will escort Madame. So in the front is his Jeep, and at the back, and in the front I'm driving, and behind me is the Jeep. I don't know. I'm just thinking whether it was in the front or back. But anyway, he escorted me to the campus. And would you believe, like, interesting names? We called them servants back then, but it should be termed domestic staff. Our maid and our steward, they came out. She was Charity, and his name was Pius. Charity and Pius came out to receive me. They were so scared. I said, don't worry, I'm not a criminal. Don't worry, army is not going to take me away. They're just escorting me here. I'm okay. So it was very interesting. Yeah.
And this is when your survival instincts obviously came out because you acquired the name the Gasoline Queen. How, what is a gasoline queen and how does one become one?
Yeah, with all the luxuries when the whole country got 35 to 50% salary raise retroactive to 1 year, all paid, everything disappeared. But in any case, around that time, there was a refinery. I mean, Nigeria, fourth largest oil producing country, had a refinery breakdown. So people used to line up inch by inch by inch to get 2 gallons of gas. So I waited and waited. It was muggy heat, and then I pulled out my car. Thought you, the guy at the pump was very friendly to me, but that day he showed me cold shoulder. He said, "Go back in the line." So even though I spoke his language a little bit, he said. So I saw a military jeep pull in and bring out all their tanks, and they only not only fill their car vehicle, but they also filled up other big barrels and all that. So I got mad, and I walked up and I walked around, and so this chief sitting there in the car, I said, you know what, the power, it's the power, military power, that's giving you all this. Look at those people waiting all this time in the heat. And I have a neighbor whose baby could be called anytime an emergency with fractures. And, so I need gas and I don't have any. So he goes like, where's your car? I said, it's out there. He said, bring it over. He was still like ordering me. So at that time, I was willing to take any abuse. Just give me the gas. So I came, and then he filled up my tank, and he gave me an extra barrel for my neighbor. And I escaped danger because then obviously people got so mad, like they were ready to stone me. I ran out of there. I mean, I speeded
You
up my
didn't think far ahead.
yeah, I didn't. But then at the entrance, the university registrar was there. And that's where the origin, my name originated, because he said, you gasoline queen, we have no car, and we have no eggs in the fridge, and we have no water, and we have this, that, everything is, we're going through these hardships, and I bet your tank is full. So, gasoline queen, come on now, take me back to my place. So I gave him a ride. He was kind of, he had this love hate relationship with me because he did not like women that are daring. So, but in the end, I realized that he had a very, very good spirit. Anyway, so since then it was my name, but there's a long story in the book. Ended up, it was not me who was the gasoline queen. You have to read the book to find out who
Yes,
actually
yes, it is. It
was.
is. It is very story, and it's one about human kindness and
Yeah.
not saying "I told you so," just helping out. So, if you want to read that story, the book is out there.
And
So there was
I keep interrupting you. May I?
you just did. No, go ahead. It's your
30,
story.
30 years later, it's a continuation.
Yeah.
30 years later, that story, part of that story, was adapted in a play by a Jewish lady, Rivka Solomon, who produced a play and it became a movement that takes ovaries. And the producer of the Canadian version of that takes ovaries asked me if she could include my story and another Chinese. Because stories of daring women, but those daring women had achieved a lot more. Mine was just a fluke thing.
Well, but it's also, I think, being young, not knowing like if this was you now, or if you were to have a grandchild or a child or something about the same age doing the same thing, would you be standing on the side saying go for it or saying
My grandchild would probably be on cell phone finding out what happened.
yeah, no, no, no. It is a different world, and people have to remember that communication wasn't shared as quickly. People didn't know what was happening on the other side
Yeah,
of the ocean within a minute.
yeah,
It took us time. Now, when it comes to interpretations and seeing things differently, not knowing, which is why what this book is all about is to understand the culture you're in before you judge the story,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So while you were in Nigeria, you saw a very interesting procession of
Very?
people, a very interesting procession of people
Yeah,
going down the road. And this is a more serious story, but at the beginning you thought it was just um
yeah.
yeah, like a celebration or whatever. But later you came to find that that if you want to continue the story about what it
Oh, okay. We're talking about possible. Okay,
euthanasia, yeah,
we won't
and
use the word for now. But anyway, as I said, we used to travel northwest, southeast, whatever, south, north, west, east in Nigeria and other countries. So one of the trips, we used to be given a Land Rover and a driver, and we stayed overnight in those British-built rest houses with West African curry and all that stuff that they invented. So we were going to one of those trips, and we saw that there's a procession, about maybe 50 people, old and young, boys and girls, some dressed and some partly dressed, are just with some without shoes. They're drumming, beating a drum and just walking, chanting, and so on. And so I thought that, maybe it's one of the fun customs because they're very musical. Nigerians are a very musical nation. Dancing and music is a big thing, and that's where I developed more or honed my dancing spirit. So in front of them, there was an old lady. It was we hardly ever saw Nigerians with gray hair. She was an old lady with the gray hair, tall woman. She was ahead of the thing. Anyway, I thought maybe, I don't know, they're celebrating her or she's the leader of this group. We passed by. We stayed in a guest house, and the next day when we returned, I was curious that, what was that? I've been asking the driver. And we saw a mound on the roadside, and it was her body. So she had been mutilated. It was euthanasia in the jungle. Then he told me that some tribes, and I have, against your request, I have not further researched it, that which tribe is it that has that?
but plus this is 50 years ago, so things would have changed since then.
60 years ago. Yeah. So things may have changed. Of course, things have changed everywhere, but
Yeah,
some towards better and others. I mean, I say that we are progressing and regressing at the same time. And that's a tough
I can
battle.
see that.
Yeah.
So the thing is, at the time, you were thinking, what a horrible situation. But as you grow and see the story, it's also, whether she no longer wanted to be alive, was she in pain? Was
Who
this
knows? But
happening
you know
for her?
what? Yeah, but if you see, I mean, euthanasia has been approved here, and assisted suicide, they call it. And when I saw my husband in the hospital for 8 months, and I saw other people in that ward, what kind of life they had, and I thought that, there are people dying to get into hospital and there's no room, and there's these people that are dying to die and they're still living this kind of horrible life. So maybe it does make sense, but like faith makes us so strong in certain things that even if I think of it for myself, I think twice, like I would. But it's something to be debated.
Well, no, and it shows that as your story and experiences change, you see other stories and experiences in different light. We don't always have the right all the information when we jump in on.
Wasn't there a woman who instigated this euthanasia because she was suffering forever and ever on wheelchair? And
Oh, yeah, if there's no you have to consider quality of life as well as just, people are so hooked on life, but quality, the ability to do things that you want to do, the ability, to
yeah,
live, to see the sunlight, to whatever it is that's important to you. Um, yeah, I'm not going to I'm going to say well, people, I just said quality of life is important. Interpret that as you will. I'm not going to take a
yeah, no, but
stand
it's
here.
an
No.
individual decision. Not everybody can make that daring decision. And then,
Right, right.
just
Well,
like human beings, everything good, it's like life is like a credit card, I think, because I've been a banker, sold most credit cards in Ontario. And that's what gave me some more further opportunities, was that, it's like a credit card. It's to facilitate you, but people abuse it. So everything, you can take advantage of things or you can go overboard and abuse. So even euthanasia can be abused later on. It
oh,
can be
yeah. No,
abused.
it's a very tricky situation because, you get the wrong person in charge of your life and you sign the papers and there it goes. It okay, I don't want to go into we
Yeah,
were we were at a bank meeting and the lady had to take a phone call and she was saying you would be surprised at how many people want to put their parents who are very articulate and on the ball, have them denounced as having their
yeah,
faculties because they want to take over their houses and things. And it just, so yes, we have to be careful with everything. So know the whole story, the individual story before making a
yes.
statement. Okay, so we're leading. We got to get going here. This train is moving slow.
I know we dwell too much on that subject. We
So
were
I
considering
want
not even touching it.
So then you decided you didn't decide. You had your husband had the opportunity, and you went to Sweden for a year just after your son was born. And how do you think Sweden affected your take on the world? What did you
It,
gain from that
it changed
experience?
my perspective in many things because, first of all, my Danish friend who had been to Sweden told me, "Are you crazy? You have a 1 month old baby and he's going for a year, and you want to go for a year to a brand new country where you don't know anybody? You go, stupid little woman, go to your parents and let them help you raise the child in the beginning months." But I said, I don't want to miss this opportunity. I went, and would you believe it, that contrary to whatever I was told, Swedes, I did not find them racist at all. I found them very friendly. Perhaps it was because we were in academic environment. God knows, he was a visiting professor at Uppsala University. But that was one of the best years of my life when I look back, because I joined. He used to go all day. He used to go to the university, and I was with the baby the whole time. But in the evening, I decided I'll take a course. So I joined language course. Would you believe my teachers encouraged me to go to enroll full time? So, and they said they will arrange. They arranged for the baby The next room to my classroom, a separate room was vacated. A crib was provided, a fridge was provided for his formula, you name it. And I was paid money to learn at ABF Institute to learn the language. I mean, what more can you want?
Well, and you just your life just followed when you first have a baby, what you need is support and you need community. And in this country of strangers, you found that.
Well, I told my friend, my Danish friend, I said, the grandmother of the child is coming along with us. And she says, what? I said, well, Dr. Spock's is known as grandmother of 1 million American children. So she says, oh, so now one Pakistani will also be raised by him. I said, yes. So I used to just take out the book. Now people click on the computer, but at that time I was used to open the book, when to burp, how to stop the burp.
She's
Yeah,
always been into books, people.
he was, he was very popular baby, he turned out to be. Tita,
No, no, he was.
they used to nudge each other on the crosswalks. Tita, again, that look at his eyes because he had black eyes and dark eyelashes and sweet. I was fascinated by Swedish children. So opposites attract. So one guy came with four children, three children, and in the crib, I was waiting in the post office, and one of the kids asked her father, "Can we kiss the baby?" So he asked, and he said, so then she said, "Can we have a baby like that, like this one?" So he said, "If the lady helps me a little." And he said that and walked away, and I thought, what did he say? If the lady helps me a little, have a child like that.
Yes, she was. Zora had very distinct boundaries as far as where she would let certain conversations go, and shocked when
And then
people
I
went
keep
from.
interrupting you because you were asking me Sweden. Why was it so good? Would you believe?
I was asking what is the thing that you took away from Sweden the most, and I
Well, I
think.
learned a language which didn't help me otherwise, but it came years later because I won millions of dollars deal with a Swedish president who I didn't know who he was. I just traced a Swedish accent in him. So I said, "Pratar ni svenska?" And he was just so taken, a brown woman greeting me in Canada in Swedish. So I said, "Jag har varit i Sverige 1970." And he goes like, "What?" So in the end, I introduced him to my manager. It wasn't me. It was the manager, joint effort, that he got the full account, 100 people with 100 RSPs, 100 credit cards, 100 everything. So that gave me a pat on the back.
It helped in
The
business.
language paid off, although I just only knew those two. Probably I forgot everything else. But anyway, I it was United Nations Silver Jubilee, and some students said that there's no Pakistan. 38 nationalities are participating. There's no Pakistani event in there. So my husband said, my wife will do something. It was as easy for him as that. But at first I was a bit upset. I said, don't just offer my services like that without thinking, what am I going to do at UN Silver Jubilee? But then I thought that, my patriotic Canada, no, Pakistan and Bangladesh were about to separate. So spirit of uh, came up for Bangladesh, my patriotism. So I prepared a classical dance and I did actually perform the solo dance in front of 800 crowd in Uppsala. So that was quite something. And you know what? United Nations and Pakistani embassy and Swedish people, they all went out of their way to get white garlands for my long braid and costume from silken sari and all. And we learned how to tie that because for the classical dance, it took us hours to learn that. My husband was totally participating with me. It was a three-way project because my son used to jump. After the babysitter dropped him back, he used to jump into his hip hop thing. And when I was practicing, so a video is playing on one side and I'm copying. I did not know. I did not know. I fumbled, but I mean, how would the Swedes know that? The next
But what
morning, when I when I went to ABF Institute, they said your picture is in the papers. I guess mine was the most unusual looking, you know, outfit and all that. So
but you were brave and you kept trying new things, and that allowed you to meet more people and everybody working towards one goal, and it didn't obviously matter where anybody was coming from. You guys were all working towards
yeah,
one
that's true. I
goal.
mean, because my
And
husband and I, he was very supportive. That's part of it, big
yeah,
part.
yeah. No, you need to have that. Now, we are just going on. So I'm going to take this one question which is really what we want to go here from author Brian Greiner. Zora. Oh. That's not the one I wanted, Brian. I said Brian and I have discussions. Never apologize for interrupting Vicky. She needs your wisdom and interesting stories. I do need them. But sometimes people can Zora's allowed, but not everyone. Okay. The question I wanted is you've seen so many different cultures over a long time. Do you have some basic advice for young people, or perhaps should they just read your book?
I think, first of all, I think everybody should read my book. Some of them should read like you, and some of them should watch this interview carefully. I had experiences like, I mean, who would have an experience of bat hunting party? I went to attend a bat hunting party by a uh, paleontologist, zoologist, who turned out to be one of the world's most famous ones. Later on, we discovered. But he wore a Mexican hat. He was a professor of zoology, and he invited so a bunch of students uh, did this bat hunting party, and afterwards we were at a dinner at his place. And Prime Minister of Sierra Leone was the guest of honor at that time. So I mean, of course, I don't drink, so I spilled my drink. But when it came time to having dinner, there were a lot of varieties. I like Nigerian moi moi and dodo, nothing else. But there was the main dish. Can you guess what it was?
I know, but I read the book.
That meat. That meat. An American lady in front of me, she tasted it, and I said, tell me, because I don't want to try." She said, "It's like chewing on rubber, literally." So then there was a Kentucky Fried Chicken plate at the end. Just took that. And so Kentucky Fried Chicken played a big role in my life.
When all else failed, go for Kentucky Fried Chicken. I think that anywhere anyone can have a chance to listen to Zara, whether through her book or her videos, her plays, her productions, they should go for it because there is just so much here about resilience and the endurance of going through difficult times. And we haven't even gotten to Canada yet. I don't know if we have time for Canada. You
Well,
must,
you know, the
Rob.
last interview I did, the guy said there has to be two interviews.
Yeah, you are always welcome back. We can do that in number 2. We can do number 2. We have a lot of second interviews.
You know,
Robin,
Nigerians, I did tell you about Nigerians. Hopefully, you have that question later. If not, I'll jump in again. Because the talking drum, you know, when the British ruled Nigeria, it was one of the colonies, uh, they could relay the message from one village to the other via the talking drum. So I met the king of talking drum, Olatunji Oju something. Anyway, so I took 30 American women there and we tested with modern language, and they could convey any message through drum language. So that was interesting. And you know, you see that thing at the back of my uh, background on the wall? That is Nigerian, all the Nigerian figures that represents their
right,
culture.
right.
Yeah, hand carved. Yeah.
So is that Robin? There are so many in this book. Robin wants to know what your fondest memory in all your travels is, but what if you had to pick how can you pick one thing that stands out to you more than anything else in all your travels?
Okay. Well, from Canada or abroad?
Let's choose Canada because we've got to touch on Canada somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, when we migrated here, it was like, see, when we left Nigeria, I won two gold medals in badminton. I was very lucky because the champion, the coach offered to groom me for that. And I did. And, they called me, "You're just like black." And meaning that was a compliment to them that you have integrated with us so well. And I felt really proud of that. More than the medals was really a great compliment. But when I arrived here, I became BIPOC, person of color. So, and 1976 was a bad year for that because South Asians, Indians, Pakistanis came in influx. So there was discrimination. But the biggest thing I faced was that my husband, we had to assume role reversal. My husband was overqualified. But you know what? I think I got so many opportunities. But I think the one memory that he wants to know was I was nominated to be a president of a women's club, and I said, no, no, no. But in the end, I had to give in because I thought maybe there's a calling for me. So I discovered that they have these issues about arranged and love marriages. So I wrote a play, Window Shopping for Lasting Love. And well, we had 1,200 guests. But I met the right people at the right time. I don't think my achievements have everything to do with my will or my effort. My achievements have a lot to do with my good luck, meeting the right mentors at the right time. So
How
the
about it has to do with you're open to possibilities?
yeah, but his
Because the same thing
answering
could happen to a lot of people and they would just say, no, 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 no. But your
answering to his
ability to say yes.
question, Robin, was his name Robin?
Robin, yeah.
Yeah, Robin. But I ended up writing more plays about then, and then I wrote about rising divorce rate, and I wrote about widows, and I wrote about cheating in marriage and all that. The one of the happiest times was when I least expected that we will win. My group, Bridging the Gap, will win first prize as uh, in arts from the Mississauga Arts Council as for our play. And when they announced my name, I was totally not prepared, and I just fumbled my way. And they escorted me. I was thinking like I could fall any minute. That was the delightful thing. But then at the same time, after the event, I'm talking about my luck. A lady came who had started a publishing company, and she said, "I want to publish your two award-winning plays." So Questionably Ever After and Window Shopping got published. My good luck was just everywhere. I had more challenges than average, but I had more good luck than many people.
And if you can see parts of Bridging the Gap's plays on Facebook, on the group Bridging the Gap page, and it talks a lot about not only the differences between people due to culture, but the differences towards people in the same culture with different ages. That
Yes,
things change and not everybody catches up with it.
yes. Because when I had refused, but then I realized that there's a calling for me, and it really was a calling because for 5 years, uh, after we had been sort of left evicted from our luxury home, that's another whole story. Um, uh, I was not because we didn't pay, we had invested our whole life savings in there. But anyway, at that time, those 5 years became five plays were produced during that time. So, adversity became an advantage. And I met the right person. When I did Urdu play, I met the person from Pakistan who was in theater. And when I did English productions, I met, a lady, Riva, who had a theater downtown Toronto, and she gave me a helping hand. So again, as I
Reva
said,
Stern.
yeah, Riva Stern.
Reva
So,
Stern will be on Fika with Vicky next week.
oh, she was? Yeah. So yeah, she gave me helping hand. She was our dramaturge, and I learned it was on the job learning. I did hire professional, directors and so on, and I spent for Questionably Ever After. I even got a good amount of money as an educational play about rising divorce rates. and we produced a magic formula for healthy relations that we handed out to thousands of people, first at the play and then at one of the exhibitions. So I think if anybody wants to, just look at Magic Formula for Healthy Relations on YouTube, and you will find 5 segments of it. So yeah,
And so you talk about your ups and downs. When you first came to Canada, you were very young. You had a baby with you. You had never worked in your life. Your husband had to go back to Nigeria because that's where his job was, and you have to take the immigration opportunity when you have it. So you stayed in Canada while he worked in Nigeria. And there was snow, so much snow.
don't remind me that. I think we should tell Robin the worst time of my life was when I was, trying to navigate that trolley that always goes on the opposite direction that you wanted to, on crunchy snow. And I just literally cried with tears. I said, why did we do this to ourselves? But then, it was struggle, but I got a scholarship to study 1 year business course at Shaw College. Again, a stroke of good luck. I didn't have to, I mean, I just got it and paid money for that too. So free education. And then we ended up, he got a 1 year contract at Regina University. So I ended up applying for a credit union, 8 years minimum banking experience. I had none. The general manager laughed and he said, did you read the ad? I said, I did. And he said, I asked for 8 years minimum experience. I said that, minimum working experience paid. I don't have paid working experience, but I did a lot of work. I was, University's Film Society. I was the publicity director. For free work, there should be some recognition. But I said, I met all other qualifications. He said, what? I said, outgoing, good communication, ability to adjust and learn. So he rejected me. But would you believe that 3 months later, he called me on Christmas morning, breakfast table. He said, I used to send him an email every 2 weeks or a message of every 2 weeks that when there's another position. So in the meantime, I was working for the government. So he said, I didn't recognize, and he goes like, now you don't know me and you were after me. So he called me and he last question was that you will be the first woman of color in this office, in this entire building. So I said, Mr. Clark, don't worry about it. I'm only here to add color and spice to your credit union. And he said, at that note, you're hired. Because, he had lost 3 employees consecutively before me. That's why he gave me the chance, because I was after him. And you know what? First day he said to me, you know you don't know this job. I know you don't know this job, but I will teach you everything. He taught me ABC of everything. 3 months later, he appointed me as the secretary to the board of directors of Power Corporation.
So persistence pays off.
It does.
It
It does.
it does.
And persistence and also willingness to learn. I mean, now that I'm my age, I don't want to declare it unless I have to. But at this age, your learning ability slows down. So I'm glad that I did when I did. But now, having had a husband who had dementia, I fear losing some of the ability. And I know that sometimes words slip out of the mind from here to there. But my friends tell me we all have that issue. Names of places and people just.
well, okay, look at how big that book is. Look at how big your brain is. How are you going to fit all that in there and remember?
It wasn't
It's
for my diary writing constantly, but it's a reminder. But yeah, it's good because I'm now working, as you know, again on writing more books and stuff.
so I think we're going to have a part 2 and do Canada in part 2 because
I think so. I think so because there is so much to it. How I got into the culture. How I was rounded up to take to see a male stripper, and I did not want to go. How I escaped from that.
I remember that. It's so weird reading your memoir because I feel like I've been nosing into your life.
But the thing is, I'm now an open book. Everybody,
Yeah,
but
there's nothing to hide. That's it. Okay, I want to get to a couple more comments here, and then we'll show your
do a
books
part two.
off. Yeah,
Part
we'll
two.
show you your show.
I'm willing. I'm a
So,
willing part.
Sarah, have you ever gotten used to Canadian winters? As someone born in Canada, I'm getting less used to Canadian winters.
Every winter when I see skaters and ski, then I think that I wish I had learned those skills. Then I could enjoy the winter better. But I enjoy, like I enjoy everything in life because there is a lesson I learned from one of my mentors, and he said, big pleasures are few and far between, like wedding, engagement, graduation. But small pleasures you can get pick 100 a day. I do get 100 pleasures a day, and I
Oh, I
thank you for
believe
that.
I believe
Plus,
you
I have
do.
the vast sky in front of me that gives me all the nature. Left side is Celebration Square that gives me all the exposure to all cultures.
Well,
So,
it is. Winter has its greatest points. I mean, it's the best time of year for fika because you're ready to curl up with that hot drink and spend some times with friends and chat. So it's more conducive to coziness.
it is. It is.
I think
Every
it
season,
is.
the thing is in Nigeria, it was the same weather all year long, 70 to 80 degrees. That's it. And so we used to get bored too, rainy seasons and all year round. But then when we first came here, the change of seasons was exciting for us. After the
It
first,
is lovely. The autumn. Without winter, you wouldn't have autumn or spring, and they're both lovely.
and
Sure.
like I think Canadians or Americans out here have invented. There's something always going on. In winter they have Christmas. In spring they have Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, and then it's always something. Like Halloween during fall. So there's always something exciting going on.
To celebrate and
Yeah.
to get together and enjoy. Shireen Hassan. Is that our Shireen or is this a different Shireen?
Shireen, is it Hassan? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our helper today.
Yes, we're going to need you again, Shireen, just letting you know. Sarah is the most fascinating person I know. From hearing about all her travels and accomplishments, she encourages people to live life to its fullest. Thank you, Cece. Now this is a recommendation. This comes from a daughter-in-law. So people, this is high boost for
She's
Zora.
a friend. She's a daughter in love.
Oh, isn't that sweet? All mushy with the little hearts. And Serena Lewis, it says such an honor to.
Another lovely, lovely lady. What a poet. What a poet. I'm totally smitten by her poetry right now.
Okay. So, and she says of you, such an honor to know Zora, read her books and listen to her life story. Good luck in your next projects. Um, Vicky, you have much more material to talk about with Zizi. Await part two. Yes, we do. Um, thank you, Serena. So, if
You
people
asked me
want
about,
this, where can people get your books?
yes, Amazon.ca and Amazon, I
Dot
think in
com.
States too, .com. So Amazon.ca is the Canadian, but also the publisher is, I don't know if I can show this somehow.
I've got it on my ebook
Okay,
here,
so
so I can read it. I can't.
yeah, there it is. Ex Libris, Xlibris, xlibris.com.
So yeah.
You can order through them, but I think
If you
Amazon.
just put Zohra Zoberi into the book section, it will come up.
My book
And
website is zoraz.com. You can see the reviews as well.
yeah, and it's going across the bottom here. I'm going to
Yeah,
send
there's
you
so
an
much left,
official thank you to. Wait, we
so
still
much
got stuff.
left that we didn't talk about. Did we
There's
mention
a lot, but
that?
do you want to hold up your other books there? One and one make 11.
Yes, that I did with a scholar who has 80 books to his credit now. Anyway, he was after me to do a book with him together. It's a fusion of literary arts. One and one make 11. His grandmother and my grandmother used to use this. in Urdu, ek aur ek gyara. It's to entice a growing child to think outside the box. So the book is dedicated to outside the box thinkers, because then when you say one and one, and he says two, and you say no, think, and then it's 11. If you work hard and you collaborate well, you can achieve as much as 11 people.
And you're working on two new books right now, a memoir and a book on dementia.
Yes, the book on dementia is titled, at least I think I'm going to keep that title, Therapeutic Lies. And because I went through dementia care, like I was a care provider, it's dedicated to care providers. So, I mean, if today, if we want to write a book on dementia, we can produce it through AI in 4 hours or less. But um, I think a personally lived experience where I went wrong, where I passed with flying colors. When did I learn? How did I learn? And how did we cope with it through art and music and meditation? And actually, it was during that time that I came up with my diaries became a poetry book, True Colors. So it was during that time that I used to, when I could no longer work peacefully, I used to hide in a French little cafe and order green tea and banana bread and edit my poetry. So, and again, good luck. Like I had no idea this is my first poetry book. It's prose poems, just like little diaries. But I got a call from an organization, Endless Possibilities. They gave 6 different awards to different people. They gave me a Woman of Courage award for this because it has poems on politics as well as personal, uh, from the universe to the inner mind. That's what it is.
So, if you want the links to Amazon.ca or
You
whatever,
know,
and
I
you want to
didn't.
make it,
Yeah,
it,
I did not. I
you
should put
didn't
it
put
on
that one out.
Amazon. I did not. One order sold out, second order sold out. I helped from the funds I helped at that time. I was working, making good money. So I helped, Vision and Literacy International, a charity that we ran for children between the ages of 1 and 16, to for free eye care, and then also
Right.
I did them to schools. So it was all the money went to them at the time. But now I need the money. If I can put it on YouTube or put it, some poems are recited on YouTube. You can go Zora z.com. Listen to my poem Valentine Dance and Two True Colors. You can see it in colorful depiction of some
But
poetry.
you're going to leave us with the ending of that as we end today's show. But before we do that, just I'll let Robin have his say. Thanks, Vicky and Sora. Part two about Canada, eh? And yes, part two
Yes.
will be
Yes,
about.
it's a harrowing story that becomes a comedy at the end, and it becomes a very happy
No,
story.
it becomes a happy ending because I got to meet you and do this interview. So we will
Yeah,
make this.
and then even Vicky, as we were saying, that the last glitch that we had, everything comes out to be every negative thing has a positive side to it. So you and I having that 1 hour struggle, why is it not working? Why is it not working? And then Shireen coming, stepping in. So it's forged a friendship between us because we spoke so many times.
We've been through fire, baby. We've been through fire.
Yes, I know. I
And we
think
came back.
hats off to you because you totally relax the person, You have the knack for it. So
Oh,
hats off
thank
to you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if you just want to read the end of True Colors there for
Of
us,
true color
please.
or the other eye. You mean the
Oh,
my
the other, yeah, from the other. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So because as I said, it's like the two bookends. So I started with Second Journey, and you hop on that journey with me. You travel with me throughout all these different countries and different cultures. Please do go ahead with the second one. It's necessary. So this one at the end, after I finished the book, the end has happened. But at the end, I put this poem because those 5 years when I could have had a horrible, horrible time with negative attitude, panoramic perception of the world gave me this opportunity. 5 years, my house was open to everything you will know in this. There's room for you. In the replica of our global village, there's a special room where East meets West, North greets South, and Light dispels darkness. Through the mysterious corridor, you spiral down the dark stairway to descend in order to ascend. With the theme East Meets West, this exclusive venue is inclusive of all races. Ordinary people come to perform extraordinary deeds. A symbol of harmony, no stereotyping, true bonding. Creativity in common, people from all walks of life converge. Theatrical performances of social dramas or stage shows we rehearsed, seeking true Canadian values, commonalities discovered, diversity celebrated. So, enlightenment through entertainment. The magic of our mus- multicultural mosaic truly sparked when Eyal of Israel and Gada of Palestine held hands and bonded. Indian Reena played Pakistani Zarina. People in saris, sarongs, and kimonos mingled with those in skirts and blue jeans. United nations truly united. How we relish those lunches of shami kebab, Italian pizza, Szechuan noodles, sushi, pierogies, and falafel, a potluck of food and folks. This replica differs from the outside world. Complete harmony exists. This is a room where you bring your basket full, empty it, and refill it till it overflows. No matter what color you are, tears are all the same, laughter alike. The I less significant, we and us matter, and there's room for you. Just think, just think, it all started with a basement in my home.
I
So
do.
that's at the end, which shows the multiculturalism. Really, I adopted it, and that's my destination.
Yeah, no, and you're turning us all around. So I'm looking forward to part 2. I'll book that with you tomorrow. Just we'll book it, people. It's happening. As long as Shireen's around, it's
Shireen has played a major role in my life. I have a chapter in my book that says, uh, set, "Losing gold, gaining gold mine."
yes, yes, no,
At
this
the
is true.
time of my losses, I had to sell out my jewelry, but I met Shireen. She came in our life, so I titled it, you know.
It's
I hope
and
Shireen
that's
will
gold
never
in
write my book
itself.
word to word like Vicky has.
So you take care. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
very
then.
much. And
And thank you.
I should
Thank you.
thank all the people that have supported me in this, because nothing comes on its own. You know, we have a saying, मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. That I started the journey alone, but people kept joining the procession until it became a huge.
And yes, and this is a huge procession and
And
a long one.
you have now come at the end of it to recognize it. Thank you very much. And
Oh,
much
thank you. Thank you for offering to feed me if I'm in Mississauga. That's
well,
important.
I'll have a hardcover book waiting for you. I put it aside. It's for
Well, and yes, I will we'll work that out tomorrow. I will have a thank you post with the information for your books on Facebook tomorrow.
yeah. I
Okay,
think
now
that I will look forward to it also, and because I think there's some question like Robin asked of what do I teach the youngsters and all that. I have to cover that because I made sure during COVID that I have friends from all age groups, and each age group I'm learning from some, I'm exchanging with some.
it is
You
no,
learn
it's
from everybody.
important.
You learn
No,
from everybody. But youngsters, you guide them. So I try to guide them through the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai or Ikigai, whatever you call it, finding your essence. So
okay, okay, we'll look into that. So you take care, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you so much, Sora.
thank you so much for whoever is watching, and please click in when we come next.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye
Vicky.
bye. Oh,
Bye.
you're welcome. All right, and that was fantastic. We're looking forward to number 2 of Zora's visits. The rest of you, I'll see you next week. And until then, may your coffee be hot and your stories sweet. Thank you for listening, everyone. It couldn't go perfectly. It just could not go perfectly. Where did the clip stop? It's the clip. Okay, here we go.